wide consultation on the levy. Stay with us. Meanwhile, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, calls off its intended sit-down strike over the rollout of the cedi petroleum levy. We've got details for you. Also this evening, patients bear the brunt as members of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, GRNMA, continue to strike, defying a court order to resume negotiations over the implementation of their conditions of service. Meanwhile, the Health Committee of Parliament to hold an emergency meeting tomorrow over the developments. Stay with us. We've got details for you. Here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in One Beyond. Let's get into the details of the stories right now. As a minority in Parliament has launched a scathing attack on the NDC government over the controversial Energy Sector Levy Amendment Bill 2025, which imposes a cedi charge on every litre of petrol. The levy, set to take effect on June 16, aims to raise some 5.7 billion Ghana cedis annually to offset Ghana's $3.1 billion energy sector debt, specifically 1.2 billion for fuel. That's acquisition of fuel for the powering of the thermal plants. Now, what we do know is that the minority, in their view, earlier today at the press conference, called it a hypocritical betrayal of public trust, arguing it reverses the NDC's past opposition to similar taxes like the e-levy. At a press conference ranking on the energy and also the Economic Committee of Parliament, Kojopo Nkrumah slammed the levy as economically devastating and demanded transparency on how the funds will be used.
Now, we want to take a moment to highlight some things about the levy that, because the people of Ghana didn't get an opportunity to have a full discussion on it, have come up and we think we need to draw your attention to. First is the rate that is being charged. Ghanaians will bear witness that this levy is being charged at a rate of 8% per transaction. 8% per transaction. And this makes it one of the highest tax rates introduced in Ghana in a single instance. If you study the history of VAT and many of our other revenue handles, you notice that at the first instance of introduction, sometimes it's 1%, 1.5% or 2%, and then maybe as the years go by, you may find some add-ons and then a consolidation. For this particular levy, at the first instance, the government is charging the people of Ghana 8%. And this is one of the highest rates at first instance in terms of taxation that is being introduced in the Republic. Again, even if this levy wasn't hypocritical, as has been mentioned by my brother, and had an honest justification, why would the government impose a levy with an 8% transaction rate on the people of Ghana? It's just simple wickedness. And to think that this 8% is on every gallon of fuel, actually cascading down to every liter of fuel, to pay for the inefficiencies in the energy sector is simply a stab in the back of many people who believe the government at their words that they will not impose levies to pay for the inefficiencies in the energy sector. Now, for every 1 gallon of petrol product that you buy or diesel that you buy, this government is, because of this tax, going to take an additional 4 cedis and 50 pesos from you. That is 8%. We recall the NDC's claim that the then MPP government had done no work for Ghanaians when they are transferring their money, and therefore had no business in charging 1% levy on Momo transactions. So we ask you, what is the work that the NDC has done when you are buying your fuel in the back of many people who believe the government at their words that they will not impose levies to pay for the inefficiencies in the energy sector? Now, for every 1 gallon of petrol product that you buy or diesel that you buy, this government is, because of this tax, going to take an additional 4 cedis and 50 pesos from you. That is 8%. We recall the NDC's claim that the then MPP government had done no work for Ghanaians when they are transferring their money, and therefore had no business in charging 1% levy on Momo transactions.
That's Kojo Ponkroma. He is a ranking member on the Economic Committee of this 9th Parliament. Now, the minority insists government should prioritize fixing systemic issues. Now, like the ECG, revenue losses, and grid cost inefficiency, instead of taxing Ghanaians. They cite the finance minister's January pledge not to use the tariffs to cover ECG's failure, a promise now broken.
We, however, have some alternative suggestions to make to the government, and I'd like to highlight a few of them. The minority believes strongly that if this government is minded to pay off the energy sector debt, because you recall that part of their justification is that they want to pay off the energy sector debt. In fact, the president said he'll pay it off by December 2026. And we have just done the math for you, that if you look at what is going to accrue in the 2 years, it cannot pay off the energy sector debt. But let us assume that they are being honest with that they want to pay off the energy sector debt. We think that what the government should do is to conclude the renegotiations of the of the power purchase agreements which were started by the previous administration, and to pass on 2 things, the fuel and capacity charges, into the PPAs. Government should include these in the tariff calculations to eliminate the need for off-book debts that are caused by the take-or-pay clauses in the energy sector contracts that were signed between 2013 and 2016. And you will recall that that is one of the major challenges that has created this stock of energy sector debt. The capacity charges and the take-or-pay charges, which could not be included in the tariffs. And so every now and then a bill is sent to the finance ministry to pay, and that bill is accumulating. If the government is really intended to pay, one of the things it should do is to complete the renegotiation, move the fuel purchases and the excess capacity charges into the PPAs, so that when people consume a certain realistic amount, then they will pay. Number 2, government should quicken the efforts to bring efficiency into the operations of GRIDCO and ECG to reduce transmission, distribution, and other technical losses. You have followed the arguments that part of the problem is the losses occasioned during transmission and distribution and collection. If government really means well, that is one of the areas to focus attention and front load. Number 3, we're asking government to pursue the strategy that we proposed in 2024 to go heavily into renewable energy, as advertised, for example, in our manifesto, to reduce the need for fuel importation and its consequent negative impacts on the economy.
All right, so that's Kojo Ponkroma there. He is ranking on the Economic Committee, the Official Yerebi Member of Parliament. Let's go on to the telephone now, and Richmond Roxon speaks for the Energy Ministry. Is joining us on the telephone right now. He's a private legal practitioner as well. Richmond, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Alfred, and thank you for the opportunity.
The minority says that this is a stab in the back for Ghanaians, because you promised that you were not going to impose any new taxes, only for us to wake up to this. Essentially, they're making the point that with this 8% transaction rate on every gallon of petrol, translating into 4 cedis 50 pesos on every gallon because of this levy, it cannot be the case that Ghanaians will not feel the burden that comes with this levy. So you should explore other means. What do you have to say to that?
Good evening, Alfred, and good evening once again to your cherished listeners. I think that when it comes to the issue of the energy sector, the minority should be very cautious in how it decides to antagonize government for trying to fix the problems that they created. We are largely where we are as a country because of the mess and mismanagement that they supervise when it comes to the energy sector, particularly the power sector. This is a sector that, as we speak today, the country is indebted to IPPs of $1.75 billion. The country owes supplies when it comes to fuel was their decision to make sure that the energy tariff structure does not include liquid fuels, which has led to some debt. They have mismanaged ECG to its needs. They supervise over a sector where over 40% losses are recorded each month, for the year, for aggregate technical and commercial losses. So if you have a government that is finding innovative ways to resolve the challenges in the sector, to make sure that we have a robust power sector and that at all times Ghanaians enjoy stable electricity supply, they should start aside and then let the people of Ghana get the support that the government needs to ensure that the power sector challenges are being dealt with.
I see, but then again, they make the point that you would rather look at other ways of cutting down the inefficiency instead of imposing this hardship on Ghanaians. I mean, regardless of what you say and how they mismanage the sector as you're talking about.
Did they find innovative ways of cutting down the losses? Is that what they did as in government for 8 years? Is that what they did? If they had the solutions, why are we where we are today? The government has only been in power for 5 months. If they had the solutions and they were very innovative, we shouldn't be where we are today. What the government has done is that the government has been innovative by looking at the windfalls that we've recorded as a result of the prudent management of the economy, as a result of the reduction in fuel prices, and that the government is asking the people of Ghana to support. But they didn't do that. They created the mess. They mismanaged ESLA. If they had all the solutions and were innovative, we should have a clean bill of health when it comes to the energy sector. But that is not what we are recording today. So if you are talking about innovative ways, that's exactly what the government is doing. On the issue of inefficiency, the government is dealing with it. The minister responsible for energy and green transition has made a number of directives. For example, the procurement breaches that we recorded over the period, the minister has directed that there should not be a system where suppliers go and leave the goods or the material that ECG has imported at the ports without delivering them to ECG. The minister has directed that there shouldn't be a time where the management or the board of ECG exceeds its budget. Under them, ECG in 2023 had a budget of 900 million. They spent over 8.3 on procurement. In 2024, it happened again, a budget of 1.2. And they spent over 8 billion in 2 years. They spent over 16 billion with a budget of 2 years. Are they the same people talking about innovative ways and inefficiencies? Let's give the government some space to be able to deal with the mess that they have created. And at the end of the day, whether or not the government has been efficient or not, the people of Ghana will be the best judges.
I say, but in the end, they say, I mean, you're referencing what they did, but they are also looking at what is happening now, essentially, and saying that they're going to have a sustained nationwide campaign to resist what they have described as this draconian and unjust tax measure. That's what they intend to do, Mr. Ocansey.
What they are engaging is just politicking. I mean, it's not every time that as a political party you seek to score political points. This is not the time to do that, especially when you have supervised over the mess. This is not the time to do that. This is the time to lend support to the government to ensure that the sector is cleaned. If you will recall that when the ECG containers mark issue came up, go and play back what Alfred Ocansey said. Alfred Ocansey said this issue should not be NDC MPP as usual, and that there's a problem that which must be tackled. What has changed? What has changed? That is what the minority leader said in Parliament. He was the board chair. He knows ECG's books. He's part of those who supervised over that. So please, let's just allow the government to clean up the sector and deal with the issues. All the inefficiencies are being tackled head on. Like I said, the issue with procurement is being dealt with. The issue of liquid fuel is being dealt with. The supply of natural gas is being dealt with by increasing supply and also putting together a new gas infrastructure processing plant. The procurement breaches are also being dealt with. The difficult transmission and distribution lines that were inherited by the government is being dealt with. In December 2024, and you can check with Gridco, you can write, use an RCI to ask them for the information. They were shedding load of 700 megawatts. Is that what has happened in the last 5 months? No, because of prudent management of the sector. So they should give government a break and allow government to deal with the challenges that they've created. They should lend government of its support so that the sector can be cleaned up, the sector's challenges can be dealt with completely. With any government that comes in future, we'll have a better energy sector than what we are experiencing today.
See, but beyond them now, you recall the concerns that the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies also had, and reason why the implementation of this levy has been postponed from today to next week Saturday because of the calibration and all what they have to do. And they had earlier indicated that already this downstream sector is heavily overtaxed, and so that had to also be considered. You've been engaging with them. What has been their response to this concern they raised earlier?
In fact, Alfred, I'll put that in two perspectives. The first one is that you had a chamber initially raising concerns over the introduction of the levy. As of today, the chamber's position is that they are not opposed to the levy. They accept that they will plead for the levy. But what they have done is that they have asked government, they sent some proposals to government. They sent, on Thursday, you can confirm from them, I didn't want to put this information out because we don't like to put stakeholder engagement out there. But they captured it in their reports that on Thursday they met the Minister for Energy and Green Transition and they tabled 3 proposals before the Minister. Those proposals, the Minister gave his blessings, and the Minister has said that it will be forwarded to Ministry of Finance for a review and a decision will be taken, because those proposals have fiscal implications. I mean, they have financial implications, which is not part of the mandate of the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. So yes, these proposals, concerns were raised from the start. Engagements continue to happen. The position today is they are willing and ready to pay. And then, yes, after yesterday, even on Sunday, when the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Ministry of Finance, and the stakeholders engaged them, what their concern was that they wanted the dates of implementation moved from 9th to 16th, which government has also granted. So all the concerns that they've raised have been addressed, and then few of them are still underway for it to be addressed by the ministry that is in charge of that sector.
As well, essentially, they are only going to be the collecting agency for you. I mean, they're not the ones going to pay. It is the consumers who are going to pay. I mean, they will just have to calibrate their systems to make ready for the implementation of the levy. I mean, that's why they've asked for the postponement, is it not?
No. So what they concerns themselves that beyond the calibration of the system, and like I said, you're making me go into the proposals they brought. One of the things they raised, one of the concerns they raised was that if you look at the decision to implement, normally they plan before the beginning of the window, and that if it is in the middle of the window, they have to put their finances together, because depending on how you make your purchases, whether you're under bond or you are a cash and carry customer, its implications are different. You may have to get guarantees from a financial institution or get insurance guarantees. And that's why when government engaged and government decided to move the dates, defer the dates from 9th to 16th, it wasn't just about calibration of the system. It had to do with concerns that they had as OMCs, which have been addressed by government.
I want you to respond to the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has been speaking about this. Is that he says that you lied to the Ghanaian people about this, and that you're not going to introduce new taxes. You've turned around and introduced this tax. That's a blatant lie to the people. Take a listen to this.
NDC for Omuchan Trombe every day. Obieu intra Omuchan. And now you somebody in Amo Omo the dumsor levy aba. Dumsor levy. Dumsor levy. So first almost e-levy. Na yedi aba. Omo be e-levy no omo be ye. And now omo the dumsor levy aba. It is 8 times the e-levy. Omo susu anye o. And then uto 1 liter of petrol 1 cedi na ubetua. Uto 1,000 cedis of petrol ubetua 83 cedis. 83 cedis as tax. E-levy no usende obi 1,000 momwa ubetua 10 cedis. Omo and then ubetua 4,000 ubetua 83 cedis for fuel. We nimina more beba. By the time you be do 2028 no Ghana nyina be hu se omutwa ntro bebre mimi gidi se omubeka nkyere yen se yensan ba biom embafa aban no ensiesie ga.
Well, so that's Dr. Mahmoud Bamia for you. Mr. Richmond Roxon, essentially. It says this is midnight robbery and lies.
The first issue is, in fact, I'm trying to be I'm restraining myself because we are trying to focus on the people of Ghana. The government is trying to deal with the challenges, and that is why the government continues to plead with the people of Ghana to support the government in this difficult but necessary decision. The point, in fact, the first point is that for Dr. Bawumia to even benchmark this levy with the e-levy, it's just disingenuous. Alfred, were we not told that Dr. Bawumia was not in favor of e-levy? Did he not promise to abolish e-levy? Did both political parties, after the NDC MPs at the time boycotted Parliament and opposed vehemently the passing of e-levy, not promise to scrap e-levy if elected? So if you've had a government that has repealed e-levy, why is this the benchmark? Is this that the position that it is not true that at the time Dr. Bawumia did not support it? Is it that when he told the people of Ghana that he will repeal it, he didn't believe in it? Those are credibility issues. That's why I said that let's not go on this political tangent, because when you do that, then people have to go into detail and subject you and your decisions to critical scrutiny. It will be better for us to focus on the way forward. You don't cause the mess and antagonize those who are trying to fix the mess. You don't do that. So if he continues to benchmark the e-levy, what he's saying is that, indeed, his campaign promise of abolishing e-levy was not sincere. That is what Dr. Bawumia will be telling us. This levy, the current amendment of the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act, the current introduction that we've seen, it's as a result of the challenges that we have when it comes to fuel acquisition and subsequently the mess that has been created. Let's focus on that so that we don't end up derailing and focusing on peripherals. But the NPP should not be part of the group of people who would have concerns when it comes to this implementation and the problems that the government is trying to deal with.
No.
The government, under Dr. Bawumia, we saw fuel go to as high as 23 Ghana cedis. We saw petrol go as high as 17 Ghana cedis. We saw inflation go as high as 54%. Is that what is happening today? Are the people of Ghana not making savings as a result of prudent management of the economy? So if there's a windfall, and the government has identified a huge problem when it comes to liquid fuel, and the government is pleading with the people of Ghana to support, they should not be part of the conversation.
Mr. Roxon, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Richmond Roxon is the spokesperson for the Energy Ministry. He is a private legal practitioner as well. For Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfrey Bobking, he says he has a soft spot for this levy, but urges government to introduce a sunset clause so there's clarity on how long Ghanaians will be made to pay this levy.
Right now, let me say, and I've indicated already that I have a soft side for this levy. Not that is the optimal thing to do, but I'm looking at a number of factors. In my analysis, I used February and export price, where for a liter of petrol, we were looking at something close to 16 Ghana cedis per liter for petrol. That's end of February. I'm using end of February. That was when we saw the appreciation of the cedi, and then towards the end of April, the aggressive strengthening of the currency. So if you look at it from that perspective, from approximately 16 Ghana cedis, and you look at end of May, the same liter of petrol, we are looking at approximately 12 Ghana cedis. So it means that there is a savings of almost 4 Ghana cedis. In my estimation, we are looking at average savings per liter of petrol of about 3.2 Ghana cedis to the consumer, largely driven by the aggressive strengthening of the currency. So with that space, with that comfort, I believe government is looking at it that instead of passing on all the 3.2 Ghana cedis per liter because of the aggressive strengthening of the currency, largely, can we introduce, let's say, a levy of 1 Ghana cedi, essentially holding back 1 Ghana cedi from the 3.2 or so that would have gone to the consumer? Because whether we like it or not, given the current pricing window that we witness, every liter that you buy, you are making considerable savings, and simply because of the exchange rate largely and all of that. So from that perspective, I think that the optimal way to package this levy was to look at it more like a windfall tax. A windfall tax where you say that we do not intend to pass on all these gains to the consumer, but we intend to use a portion of that to also continue to support the sector. Because I don't think that government would have gathered the courage. And I had said before that if you look at the IMF supported program and government undertaking as part of the IMF supported program in terms of the energy sector, the structural reforms, the upward progressive utility adjustment that we needed to do under the reforms, I think that it would have been unbearable for the consumer. And government would have struggled to make a case for considerable utility adjustment. If you will recall, last year, when government sought to introduce VAT on residential electricity consumption, and that was resisted, we shelved it, but it was going to show up at some point in time. So if you look at the projections from now to 2027, all the way to 2028, it's just that government hasn't been transparent enough with us in terms of the communication and, of course, the fear that will be created.
That's Godfred Bobkin. Professor Godfred Bobkin is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. You still have him on Hot Edition. Now, let's go to some other issues still related to this, the aftermath of this levy. The Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, has officially called off its planned sit-down strike following discussions with government. The union had announced a nationwide strike effective June 10. That is tomorrow, over the 1 cedi levy imposed on petroleum products. Industrial Relations Officer for the GPRTU, Ibrahim Imor Abbas, is joining me on the telephone right now. Alhaj, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Brother Alfred.
Now, so what led to this decision to postpone this strike that was scheduled to start tomorrow?
Yeah, today government engaged us, invited us, and we have to get on subsequent engagements as well. So they immediately came out and announced the suspension of strike action. So this is how it all started.
I see. What was the detail of this engagement that you had with government earlier today?
That they pleaded with us to suspend so that we'll have further engagements. Meanwhile, originally, the discussions are to take off today, which has also been suspended by government on the 16th. by which time they believe we might have finished with all engagements that they want to have with them. So this is how the whole thing started.
I see, but what demands did you go into this engagement with government earlier today?
We stood by our words that they should totally withdraw the 1% energy levy. We requested for that due to the earlier fair decree that we've come up with, of which we haven't gone very deep into the meeting itself. So subsequently, we shall get in further and get to know how they are also going to handle us for final decision.
Well, with the initial discussions you had, did you get any sense that your concerns will be met, that this levy should be totally withdrawn? Because from what we understand, there's preparation underway already for its implementation beginning next week.
Yes, and we shall have another meeting at least by Friday. So let's meet and see what will come out finally.
See, would you consider a compromise on your position, or you're still going to demand the 1 cedi levy be withdrawn regardless of whatever government comes up with?
Well, it depends. It will be premature for me to say anything now. So let's meet and let's engage further and see what will come out of it.
Thank you, Alaj. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Alhaji Abasimoro speaks for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU. There you're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Now, the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies has commended the postponement of the implementation of the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy. The Ghana Revenue Authority announced the postponement by 1 week following strong opposition from oil marketing companies. Originally set to take effect today, Monday, June 9, the new 1 Ghana cedi per litre levy will now be enforced starting June 16th. That's a week away from today. Now, the decision comes after the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies raised concerns over the abrupt timing of the levy, warning that its immediate rollout could worsen fuel prices and increase the financial burden on consumers. The GRA, which acknowledged the concerns, has confirmed that after constructive discussions with industry leaders, a new implementation date was agreed upon. That's June 16, 2025. The levy introduced to help settle mounting energy sector debt had faced criticism from industry players who argued that they were not properly consulted. Some also warned that the sudden increase could disrupt the already volatile petroleum market. And on the details as we have it, the revised levy would lead to the previous levy, which was 95 pesos. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM 927 right now, we're showing you the computation of the impact of this levy when it begins application or implementation. It will increase the now 95 pesos levy to 1 cedi 95 pesos on petrol. The same applicable on diesel. The same also will be impacted for marine gas oil. It would increase from 3 pesos to 23 pesos. So that's the impact that this particular levy would have when it comes to the implementation on fuel, that's the petrol and diesel. And we'll be monitoring how this has played out so far. And for Kwame Jantua is a private legal practitioner and also an energy analyst. He says that there's no option to this, but expects that government will be transparent in the application of the levy to ensure the Ghanaians know how much is accrued to the levy every year.
It happens that the city depreciates. It affects the one city. True or false?
True.
So how do we make sure that this one city, the city would always appreciate? How do we make sure? Because that is the responsibility of government.
And if you look at this, the three components that influences the pricing, that's relatively one of two that is within our control, right? The currency, the exchange rate, and then the taxes and levies. But for the price of crude oil on the world market, we can't do anything about it.
Yes.
As it's trending upwards, as we're saying now.
Yes, yes. The price of crude on the world market, ex-pump prices, and the rising of the dollar. There are some international factors that we cannot do anything about. How do we cushion that particular situation? Because we don't want a one cedi that falls to 80 pesos, that falls to 50 pesos, and then we are struggling to make it up. Apart from that, how long is this particular levy going to stay on the books till? I think it's important that the finance minister makes us know. Is it going to be a levy that is going to be there for like kingdom come, like the COVID levy? Or is it going to be for a certain duration of time? Once we pay the debt and probably have some buffer, Ghanaians stop paying the one cedi. I think we need clarification on that. Again, the cash waterfall mechanism is very, very important. The president tells us that this particular one cedi is going to cover everything. For me, the first point of call is the cash waterfall mechanism. I believe the cash waterfall mechanism is a good mechanism to pay IPPs, to pay debts. It has to be structured in such a way that we don't go through the challenges that we've been through with the cash waterfall mechanism, especially political influence. It's a good thing to hear when the president says this money is not going to go into the consolidated fund. It's going to go direct, and it has to be targeted directly to the energy sector. The moment it is diverted into anything else, it's going to affect us.
That's Kwame Jantua. He is a private legal practitioner and energy analyst as well. Now, products lifted before June 16 will still be charged the old levies. That's cash and carry transactions from June 1 onward, and will be subject to the new rate if lifted on or after June 16. The Chief Executive Officer for the National Petroleum Authority, Godwin Tamaklo, says the consensus among the stakeholders has averted a major crisis. He spoke on TV3 New Day earlier today.
The concern they raised was that because the implementation is sudden, right, from last week, the law itself was passed, I think on the, I'll just find out, one of the Thursdays. Then the next time you are asking us to do, we realized that, yes, of course, they have raised very legitimate concerns. So once the matter came to the GRA commissioner and the finance minister, he felt that the concerns they have raised perfect. And that is why he said, look, in the circumstance, and if you read the statement carefully, COMAC is really not against the one cedi. It is the implementation, because to them, it is going to bring additional financial burden to them. And in the circumstance, they felt that it appeared more like a fiat. Let's just do it. And so the finance minister's intervention to allow the whole thing to move to next week will allow them to put their finances in place. And for me, this is welcoming. What it has done is that it has made my work a bit more easier for me at MPA, because the implementation is at my end, the downstream. And this would have created a problem. But thankfully, the finance minister saw wisdom in the concern they've raised and has agreed. And I've noticed that COMAC has also issued a statement to that effect. I just want to thank them for that magnanimity, in averting a potential industrial action. Because what during the conversation, like today, would have been difficult for anybody to lift products, and that would have created serious problem, in the whole country.
As Godwin Tamaklo there. Now, Ghana's healthcare system is grappling with a full-blown crisis at the nationwide strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association intensifies, paralyzing medical services and leaving thousands of patients without care. Despite a high court injunction ordering the health workers to return to work, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has defied the ruling, and in fact demanding the immediate implementation of their 2024 collective agreement, which includes unpaid allowances, improved working conditions and salary adjustments. What began as a partial strike on June 4 has now escalated into a full walkout, with nurses and midwives across the country abandoning their posts. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has rejected calls to renegotiate the agreement, emphasizing that the government's failure to honor signed commitments has lifted them from that position of engagement to one that they do not want to sit around the table for any renegotiation. The action has affected healthcare delivery, particularly in rural regions like Savannah and northern Ghana, where healthcare access is already limited and challenging. Reports from the Salaga Municipal Hospital reveal desperate scenes. Patients, including children and the elderly, are being turned away as outpatient services grind to a halt. In Tamale, the Central Hospital, a critical referral facility, is operating at a skeletal capacity with non-striking staff overwhelmed. The situation is not different at the Eastern Regional Hospital in Koforidua, as a distraught patient was left with no choice than to return home. Take a listen to exactly what they have been going through as we speak.
The usually bustling regional health facility now stands deserted.
Strike action by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association is in full force here at the Eastern Regional Hospital. On a daily basis, on the average, over 500 clients coming here to seek services. For the past days, it means that these number of clients or patients at as well will not have access to healthcare services. Already, the chairs or sitting areas are getting empty by the day because it is beginning to dawn on them that the nurses will not provide services.
We place on record that we are not happy as nurses and midwives to go on strike, but we are doing this to save ourselves, to save our families, and to save the future. Why am I saying so? Nursing and midwifery is an essential care in the country, but I can confidently tell you that we have one of the poorest conditions of service in this country. Nurses and midwives are suffering from chronic conditions and at the end of the day do not have any form of support. Why should it always be nurses and midwives?
Of course, we have seen clients coming to the hospital frustrated because the nurses are unable to take care of them because of the defiance in continuing the strike action. We're hoping that government on one side and the nurses leadership on one side come together to resolve this amicably. Otherwise, we might have a backtrack in progress made towards Sustainable Development Goals 3 to give access to healthcare.
Yes, fully be and I'm fine free almost na me nim da bia almost ka se bia work or baby baby and me who be an and me bisa was say work or strike bisa was work or strike my back Canada sam who be our hana no for we won about for na profu who be into me catch and so member hana me no be a friend so still me no be a kora in bisa master kora wa hana.
And that's the situation across the country, where the impact that this Nurses and Midwives Association strike is having on healthcare delivery. Let's go on to the telephone now, and Austin Game is a celebrated international labor expert mediator. He's joining us on the telephone right now. So Game, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome, Alfred.
We understand today the health ministry had a closed-door meeting with the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association and other key stakeholders in a bid to end the ongoing nationwide strike by the nurses and midwives. One of the outcomes from what our close sources in there is telling us is that government had proposed that the implementation of this negotiated conditions of service kickstart in 2026, which the nurses have kicked against that. I mean, how do you see things evolving in the coming days?
Thank you. Well, to be honest with you, as I've stated before, I worked closely with the nurses for the past 8 years. And during that period, we prevailed on them not to take industrial action as part of their protocols. And we were successful, but I think they know exactly what they wanted to do. That's why they deliberately failed to invite us to the meeting that enabled them to the decision they took. Because definitely we understand the processes and will not allow them to go on strike. So yes, now it's a very deliberate thing that they choose to do to inflict the pains that would hurt the employer. Of course, knowing very well their customers, the patients would cry loud, and so that's what they have done. But now to the substantive issue, I'm even surprised that the minister had the courage to say that they will implement it in 2026. This particular aspect of that's why the previous government did not even budget for it. Did not even talk about it. Because I think they did it as a face-saving thing to stop the question of pressures and so forth and so on. Because this is something that is about paying for the pain in particular, and therefore, by extension, this might be requested by virtually all professionals who have to register and they have to pay for their pain. I would have done it differently. I can't talk about it on air, either by themselves or by any means. We can deal with it outside this. But I think that for now, even the proposal that we implement it in 2026 is not being ahead to, because certainly the employer has not budgeted for it in the budget that was read in the Parliament of Ghana. So definitely they are unable to just implement something that cannot be audited or dealt with, and somebody will question it tomorrow. So they have to be very empathetic, just like they wanted everybody else to feel for them. They have to be empathetic to the very patients that pay their monthly pay, because the patients that contribute to it. So I think it's up to them to heed to the interlocutory injunction that was imposed on them by the court. Not because even the government said they will implement, the employer said they will implement it in 2026. But they should heed to the law. If they are not going to obey the law, they don't expect tomorrow, when there is something for the same employer, also to take good care of them that way.
I see, but then again, you say that you're shocked that the minister even made that proposal, but the end goal is to get these registered nurses and midwives association back to work. I mean, what should the approach be to, as it were, get their concerns addressed, and for them to also reach a compromise and call off this strike, which clearly is having a biting effect as we speak?
Yes, I agree. I empathize with everybody who is unwell and are being treated the way it's going on. Even though I know the nurses are fully aware of the consequences of their action, I am not in support of the approach. Normally, under the labor law, in the rules that govern the procedure of the negotiation, as well as the very collective agreement they are talking about, all differences under Section 108 is to be resolved by the parties that sat to negotiate. So the standing negotiating committee that sat to negotiate will be the one, first of all, to sit and discuss, and if they reach a stalemate like they are claiming now, then they have to go to the National Labour Commission, which already invited them for a meeting, and they rejected attendance. Hence, they went to the law court, and the court imposed an injunction on them. They are still adamant. So perhaps somebody other than the court can talk about it. And they wanted to say, employer says we'll pay. But the employer cannot pay today. It's not even budgeted for. That's the point. It's not budgeted for in the budget that was approved by the Parliament of Ghana. So where are they going to get the money from to do it? And this is why wasn't it implemented before? It's because of the same thing I just said. It's the consequential effect of implementing that particular thing is very bad. And so a lot of patience will be required to handle it with care so that we do not aggravate the situation immediately after implementing this. They don't mind, by then they have gotten the money. And then you will have other professional bodies demanding the same thing. If you are a professional and you have registered, you own your PIN because it's yours, it's your profession. Just like any of you there as a journalist. So what I would suggest, which I don't want to say on air, will be slightly different from what perhaps is being said. That's why they should go to table and negotiate. If needed I were to be with them, I would have suggested what I am thinking about now, which might be a little bit more liberal. And if they are giving it to all of them even, the employer will not, and the employer here means the whole nation going to look for the money to pay them. Because this is a service rendering place where we all contribute money as their customers. Whether you've been to hospital or you've not been to hospital, you have to contribute in diverse ways towards paying the nurses and all other professionals who render such services. And they should understand that they cannot inflict, therefore, pain on the people who pay their monthly pay, be their customers, both patients and other patients.
So, please hold on a bit for me, because we also have the Honorable Sebastian Sandari. He's a member of parliament for the Dafiama-Busia constituency. He's the vice chair of the health committee of this 9th parliament. Honorable, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, the impact of this strike by the Registered Nurse and Midwives Association is telling, to say the least. We get the understanding that you are preparing to meet the leadership if the negotiation with the health ministry fails. What exactly is the demand or the posturing that you're going to have this meeting subsequently with the registered nurses?
Yeah, thank you very much. We all know that we have found ourselves in a very sad situation, an unfortunate one, where it's the patients that are suffering. And we always say that any of us is a potential patient. You can fall sick at any time. You get to the hospital. You need nurses to attend to you. And therefore, it's a situation that we have to handle very carefully, very practically, because I always put myself as a health professional. I mean, I'm a member of parliament now, but I know what it means when nurses and midwives are on strike, just like when doctors are on strike. The interest should be the patients that go to the health facility. And where we have gotten to, I would say that it's not about who is right. The nurses and midwives have concerns. We sympathize with them. We appreciate, what they are fighting for is their right. Government is also right because government might not be able to pay, or fulfill all that they are demanding. So what it means is that they have to meet at a point, on the negotiation table, and really come to a point where we put the patient paramount. So as health committee, our interest is that, we should find a solution to this. There must be a midpoint where there's that agreement that nurses would go back to work.
No, but they made it quite clear. The only way they will get back to work is for government to start the implementation of the details of the collective agreement that was reached in 2024.
Yes. I still believe, even though they have said that, I still believe there is a solution. It's still about negotiation. Maybe we are not using the right approaches, the right tactics, and then, when everybody is talking too much, sometimes there's no room to really be quiet and reflect over a situation and handle it. Like I'm saying, I know the situation doesn't need much noise out there. It is something that government, nurses and midwives must really sit, reflect on the patient, put the patient first. And I believe if we have the right people to mediate and to really, talk, there will be a solution. I don't think that this strike will be forever. I believe, I know that if we use the right approach, the nurses would consider, the government will consider, and they'll go back to work. And the patients, all of us talking who are potential patients, would have our nurses and midwives back. So as a health committee, that is our interest. It's not to say that, the nurses don't have the right to fight for their conditions of service, or the government is not right, to say that they might not have the needed resources, to pay all that they are demanding. But there must be a solution to it, and that is our interest as committee members.
Noble, I do appreciate your time on this, and I thank you very much for joining us. We'll see how the coming days will look like.
Thank you very much.
The Member of Parliament for the Dafiama Bose Isa constituency, also the Deputy Chair of the Health Committee of Parliament. Mr. Game, appreciate your time and your proposals to them as well. Thank you for joining us, sir.
You're welcome.
Osin Game is a labor expert. You're still live here on Hot Edition. We're back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us here with the business news. Bismarck Osai standing by.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
a journey of Pan-Africanism and consciousness. It is your regular taxi driver with the urban blend and 3FM 92.7 in living stereo every day, Monday to Friday, from 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. This is the show everybody listens to, so your business will certainly do well here. My name, Black Rasta. I am the rootical, hairtical, Dungargan, Moa Fire, come forward. I think I chica fankare, Azure ya chica fankare, Abama ta chica fankare.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Get ready, Ghana. The road is calling. The wheels are spinning. It's the 3FM Tour du Ghana, happening Saturday, 21st June, 2025. From the heart of Accra to the border town of Aflao, we are paddling for the planet in a thrilling 192-kilometer ride across Ghana's scenic Eastern Corridor. Whether you're a scenic cyclist or a passionate paddle pusher, it's your moment to shine. Form your teams, grab your helmets, and race for glory in Ghana's biggest cycling showdown. Challenge your limits, conquer the distance, ride for sustainability, be part of history. To register, call 053-1100-927 or 053-2200-927. 3FM Tour du Ghana, powered by 3FM.
Sponsored by Motor Guinness, Fruteli, and Qua Naturals.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business news on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this evening, Ghana Private Road Transport Union GPRTU calls off nationwide strike over new 1 cedi energy sector levy following government talks. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. Commuters can breathe a sigh of relief as the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, has called off its planned nationwide strike. The decision follows a crucial meeting between the Transport Union and the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, along with other key stakeholders, regarding the recently introduced 1 cedi fuel levy. The GPRTU had threatened industrial action to protest the new energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy, expressing concerns about its potential impact on transport fares and the livelihoods of its members. Alhaji Abbas Imoro is Industrial Relations Officer for the GPRTU.
We have called off the intended strike, sit-down strike action that we came up with. We've been engaged by the Transport Ministry. The deductions are to take off this morning, and they have suspended it to on the 16th of this month, so that we will have enough engagements. So for your information, we've called off. We'll get back to you maybe with a press conference after we are satisfied with the final decision taken.
And that was Industrial Relations Officer for the GPRTU, Alhaji Abbas Imoro. In a related development, GOL, the nation's leading indigenous oil marketer, has reduced its pump prices once more, with petrol now at 12 cedis 38 pesos per litre and diesel at 12 cedis 88 pesos. The fresh reductions follow a strengthening cedi and take effect from today, Monday, June 9. The following 3 business news desk report has details. In more good news for motorists and transport operators, GOL has slashed its fuel prices for the second time within a week. Effective this morning, a litre of GOL petrol now sells for 12 cedis 38 pesos, down from 12 cedis 52 pesos, while diesel has fallen from 12 cedis 98 pesos from 12 cedis 88 pesos. These adjustments reflect the continued appreciation of the cedi against the US dollar, which has eased import costs for oil marketers. The first reduction took effect on June 2, when gold lowered petrol from 13 cedis 27 pesos to 12 cedis 52 pesos, and diesel from 13 cedis 87 pesos to 12 cedis 98 pesos. Industry watchers say the cedi strengthening is enabling businesses to pass on savings at the pump, hopefully ushering in a broader downward trend in transport fares. However, consumer groups remain cautious, with some calling for other oil marketing companies and deepening the reductions. The real test now will be whether this respite is sustained in the coming pricing window expected mid-June, especially against the backdrop of new petroleum levies under the revised Energy Sector Levies Act. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Before we go, the Strategic Youth Network for Development has revealed that Ghana loses approximately $50 million annually due to illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing practices. According to Executive Coordinator Chibeze Ezekiel, this amount could otherwise support critical national developments. The following report has details. The Strategic Youth Network for Development highlighted the dire impacts of plastic waste and illegal fishing on national development and ocean-dependent livelihoods. In an interview at the 2025 World Ocean Day commemoration, Executive Coordinator Chibeze Ezekiel underscored the need for urgent and strategic actions to curb Ghana's escalating plastic pollution and marine degradation.
Research tells us that as a country, every year we are losing about $50 million because of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing practices. And we know also that in our country, we have at least 2 million people directly depending on the ocean for their source of livelihood.
Meanwhile, head of cooperation at the French Embassy, Julien Lecasse, has expressed France's commitment to climate change and ocean conservation. He revealed ongoing projects to mitigate flooding alongside plastic recycling initiatives.
France is really involved in to resolve the issue of climate change. France hosted in 2015 the Conference of Paris. We are working on sustainable cities with the French government, the Ghanaian government, and the European Union also, in Tamale and in 5 other cities in the north of Ghana.
And that was head of cooperation at the French Embassy, Julien Lecasse, ending that report. And that brings us to the end of Business News on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company. Bill Ashen is on standby with sports. Please stay.
Get ready, Ghana. The road is calling. The wheels are spinning. It's the 3FM Tour du Ghana, happening Saturday, 21st June, 2025. From the heart of Accra to the border town of Aflao, we are paddling for the planet in a thrilling 192-kilometer ride across Ghana's scenic Eastern Corridor. Whether you're a scenic cyclist or a passionate paddle pusher, it's your moment to shine. Form your teams, grab your helmets, and race for glory in Ghana's biggest cycling showdown. Challenge your limits, conquer the distance, ride for sustainability, be part of history. To register, call 053-1100-927 or 053-2200-927. 3FM Tour du Ghana, powered by 3FM.
Sponsored by Malta Guinness, Fruteli, and Qua Naturals.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. Now to our first story, Arsenal and Ghana midfielder Thomas Partey believes that talents from the nation need better youth structures and ample opportunities to achieve their dreams of becoming professional footballers. This belief has driven the former Atletico Madrid star to organize a tournament, the second edition, focused on recruiting the best talents for opportunities outside the country. He revealed it all in an exclusive interview with 3 Sports.
I think it should be easy to see because growing up, I have this picture like, some of us were lucky, and if we were able to get like more opportunity to show or to be taken outside or to, get a better team, we will get more than 1 or 2, So I think the idea is to give the little kids or the children who are, who want to play football the chance, to be able to get more than 1 or 2, because if you are lucky and then you have 1 player, I think with the opportunity to see more of them, you can have more than 1. So growing up, some of my mates have a lot of talent, but, no opportunity. I think with this tournament, everything is free for the kids. They just have to come and play. And then there are a lot of scouts coming from outside. They will see them because when someone is good, it's easy to see. So the main idea is to give the opportunity to the Ghanaian kids and, for them to be able to get to where we want them to be.
That was Thomas Partey. There will be more coming from the exclusive interviews in our subsequent bulletins on TV3 and also on 3FM. Now to some more stories. Western Regional Minister Joseph Nelson has directed the Municipal Chief Executive for Takwa Nsuayim Assembly, Ebenezer Kobina, to constitute a management committee comprising members of the National Sports Authority to oversee the TNA Park. However, Ebenezer Kobina has requested additional time from the regional minister to engage stakeholders on the matter.
Commissioned on August 16, 2024, the Takwa Nsuayim Sports Stadium, upgraded by GoFields Ghana from a 400-seater facility to an ultra-modern arena with over 10,000 seats capacity, has sparked a heated dispute over its supervision. The controversy arises between the National Sports Authority and the Takwa Nsuayim Municipal Assembly. During the commissioning ceremony, the facility was handed over to the National Sports Authority. However, the previous Municipal Chief Executive, Benjamin Kersey, had declined to allow NSA to assume managerial control, instead forming a committee that excluded NSA members.
Before the handing over ceremony, Kersey has threatened that he will not allow the NSA people to operate.
Joseph Alabi Bote further alleged that, according to his findings, the management of the stadium has been handed over to the Mediama Sporting Club, a decision he asserts is unlawful and contravenes national regulations.
Because handing over the key to Mr. Moses Parker is tantamount to handing over a state asset to a club.
To find a lasting solution to the issue, Western Regional Minister Joseph Nelson has instructed the Takwa Nsuayim Municipal Chief Executive, Ebenezer Kobina, to immediately form a management committee for the TNA Park. The committee will include representatives from the National Sports Authority to ensure effective oversight.
I will suggest that we put that system in place, that management team involving NSA and the assembly for the management of the stadium.
Meanwhile, the Municipal Chief Executive for Takwa Nsuayim Assembly, Ebenezer Kobina, has requested additional time from the regional minister to engage stakeholders on the matter.
Well, that was a report there by Baraka Minta Brown. Now, to the world of transfers. In the last few days, Victor Osimhen of Nigeria has reportedly rejected multiple bids from Al Hilal to sign for them ahead of the Club World Cup. Now, for more perspective, let's hear from Nigerian sports journalist and football administrator Ayodeji Adebenro on the best moves for Victor Osimhen this summer.
Victor is a very passionate footballer. He's a very passionate person, very competitive, and he's still only 26. So I think he believes he has a lot to prove, a lot to achieve in Europe before eventually retiring into the maybe Saudi money or the Qatar money. So I'm not surprised. If you've watched him play for Super Eagles, you can see how he's playing, how he's chasing everything down, how he's screaming at his teammates. Even when they sub him off with a few minutes ago on the bench, you think it's the assistant coach. So I'm not surprised that he has taken the decision not to go to Saudi Arabia at this point in his career. I don't think he can go back to Napoli because obviously something happened at the beginning of this just completed season between himself and Conte. That's why he had to leave in the first place, because he was even training with the reserve team. He wasn't training with the first team. And Conte got himself Lukaku, who he obviously wants, who he prefers over Victor Osimhen, and he has won the league. So why does he, obviously Osimhen is not in his plan. So going back to Napoli is not even an option for Osimhen. And for me, this is quite surprising for a striker like Victor Osimhen. He did it in Belgium. He did it with Lille, transferred for an African record fee at the time for 80 million euros from Lille to Napoli. He won the Scudetto for Napoli, first time in 3 years. He's gone on loan to Galatasaray. He's won the double for them. If you had to name traditional center forwards, traditional number 9s in world football today, I don't think you can name 3 players better than Victor Osimhen in that position. I'm not sure you can. I mean, goals win games. So everything, even if you don't need a striker, the moment a striker of Victor Osimhen's caliber becomes available, every big club in Europe should be lining up at his door and making him offers.
That was Ayodeji Adebenro, a football administrator and also a journalist as well. Now to the Nations League, Portugal made history by defeating Spain 5-3 on penalties to win their second Nations League title. They become the first country to do so in the competition. And my colleague Solomon Amankwa talks about what that win means for Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy.
Well, I think they deserved it. I've always said it is not always the stars that win competition. It's a collective effort. Players, light-thinking players, that wins you trophy. And I think that this Portugal team have light-thinking players. They all realize that, look, we've had a stellar season. If you look through their squad, they had 3 players who had played in a Champions League final and won it. Again, there are other players who had played in their team. Pedro Neto was winning the Conference League with Chelsea. We have had Chico Conceição this season putting up sublime performances from Juventus. Again, Ruben Diaz and the likes were also in hand for Manchester City. So these are top quality talent. When you assemble them, you need to give them a typical understanding of what you want. And I think Roberto Martinez brought that to bear. They realized that at this stage of the competition, it is only one thing at stake. Let's go in all out for the trophy. They were not going to contain Barcelona in terms of possession. The setup Barcelona have is the same setup that they play with the Spanish national team. So clearly, it was just a transfer of players in the jerseys.
That was Solomon Amankwa there speaking from Unia Sports. Bringing an end to sports here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. We have Alfred and the rest of the team on standby with a lot more.
Get ready.
finest tunes in sync with a soothing voice. 3 Lounge with AJ.
Are you tired of the same old routine? Need a break from the stress and chaos of everyday life? Well, step into the 3 Lounge, your world of absolute relaxation and great music with yours truly, AJ Akwako Sapon. Welcome to the best mid-morning show in the capital and beyond. This is 3 Lounge, yours truly, your radio princess, AJ Akwako Sapon.
Love it. I love it. It's great.
Kickstart your week with Monday motivation. Shake off the Tuesday blues and get ready for midweek mania. Take a trip down memory lane on Throwback Thursday and wrap up the week with Funky Friday with myself and Helen Appiah Ampufo. Plus, enjoy exciting celebrity interviews, insightful conversation, engaging discussions on topics that matter, and there's a boatload of fun and easy activations that reward and appreciate you, our loyal listener.
If you are listening, we're manifesting money into your pocket this morning.
Don't miss out on the excitement. Tune in to 3 Lounge every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. with AJ Akwako Sapon, only on 3FM 92.7.
It's my number one.
92.7 3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Welcome back. It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 and 1 beyond. Let's get into some more stories. As the race for the flag bearership of the new patriotic party appears to have begun sooner than expected, as potential candidates have already hit the ground running even before officiating this particular process by that's the leadership of the party. Now, the party launched a thank you tour in May following its historic defeat in 2024 general elections. That exercise is expected to conclude this week. However, even before the tour ends, several party bigwigs, including Asin Central Member of Parliament Kennedy Ohene Japan, Abetifi Member of Parliament Brian Echampo, and the former Asante Mampong MP Francis Adainimo, have already positioned themselves as contenders for the flag bearer position. The rhetoric is already heating up. Listen to Kennedy Japan making his case on the campaign trail, arguing why the 2024 flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should not be given another mandate to lead the party.
And biaba yanya fi mama mayan to to and somewhere enya no kura engu afem afem ni trama bokosem nyentia President Kufuor yadini call second term ni say the first time or the only 4 months, between 3 to 4 months, and what the year campaign. Now vote to President Kufuor nyaya within that 4 months, no, and yes or no, ebesa denako. And unti any other President Kufuor as our call second term, oko wini. There is a reason. 4 months our year campaign, the performance, and unti yes the President Kufuor accord. ABM, and Akufuado comprensa, Akufuado call first one on your 49.3%. When Timia cross 50 nunti, and I saw call second round, and also a pie, a time, and I decided here, Emma, Professor Mills, and ya 23,000 votes, and he president. Into a beer person or cultural say. Yansa ma asumasin ko biamu a on starting kabakosam amwo biantie Akufuado esa court 2012 no wo wini and wo mu wi an e court mamuti decision and was aka so de minim se ma wini but some si nyam na me respect court no enti yanko ya hwe Akufuado performance the first time, second time, and then you didn't call the third time. It is also a big performance. Now it will lose over 2 million. Now I say, Mufani Panenko.
That's Kennedy Ohene Japan there, quite clear in his words. And, well, a number of people who have been reacting to this particular development and will stay awake to see how the coming days will look like on this particular development within the race for who leads the NPP into the 2028 presidential elections as its flag bearer. Before we go, 3 major teacher unions in Ghana's higher education sector: the University Teachers Association of Ghana, that's UTAG, the Technical University Teachers Association of Ghana, TUTAG, and the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, have issued a strong warning to the government over delays in releasing the exchange rate and payment for the book and research allowance. In a joint statement following a meeting held on June 8, the unions expressed deep frustration and concern over what they describe as an undue delay in the disbursement process. The statement further said that the delay has created significant uncertainty among their members, many of whom rely on the allowance to fund vital economic and research work. The unions unanimously resolved that while they have tolerated delays in the past, they will not accept any extension of payments beyond September 2025. More urgently, they have set June 13, 2025 as the deadline for the government to release the exchange rate and begin payments. Failure to do so, they warned, will be interpreted as a strike notice from UTAG, TUTAG and CTAG across all campuses nationwide. Well, that's it for Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W 93.5 in One Beyond. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the team, we appreciate your company. The drive continues. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good evening.